Hey, what's up guys, it's Zach, and today I'm going to be making a 3D piece of art out of this Chance the Rapper piece that I made. It's mainly, I'd say like 95% vector art, and then I just put a little bit of textures over the top in Photoshop, and that's my normal kind of workflow for most of my vector art anyway. So pretty much what I'm doing right now is I'm just cutting the image out. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be layering multiple prints kind of on top of each other and multiple pieces of wood. So it's going to be like a piece of wood with a print on top, like glued on top, and then another piece of wood with a print on top glued. And I'm going to cut it out with a jigsaw, and it's going to be fun. And honestly, this project has given me a ton of other ideas. Like, I'm really about to just start doing a bunch of these because they're so fun. I'm also going to mess around with some like 3D printing stuff and like gluing some of that on the front. I think that'll be super awesome. But yeah. So as you saw, I cut out one of the images. That's for, I didn't have to do that, but I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, so yeah. I am now cutting the back, like the baseboard. I have some frames also from Hobby Lobby that are kind of just were scuffed up a little bit and stuff like that. And one of the pieces of glass was already broken anyway, so it's like, oh, I'll just use the frames for this. So I end up just like attaching the wood actually to the frame, and it's just like a permanent thing. And so as you're seeing now, I'm kind of gluing the piece that I cut out onto a 3/4 inch piece of like pretty good plywood. I think it's birch. I had it from just like carving, doing woodcuts and stuff. And for those woodcuts and stuff, I would buy like kind of a cabinet grade wood a lot of times because you wanted to hold a lot of the detail and stuff like that. And birch is very hard, so it's like, I don't know. It was a pretty good piece of wood to have laying around for this. So yeah, it takes honestly the longest for me to cut things out with jigsaw because I'm not the best at the jigsaw and I hadn't done this before, so this takes a little bit. And also I just wanted to like really pay close attention to, you know, how the wood was actually cut, because that's going to be the most important part. And as you saw, I was having to like tape the corners down because I didn't put quite enough spray adhesive down, so that was also a problem. I had to like try to guess where the lines were under that bright blue tape. I should have maybe used scotch. I don't know. I probably just should have glued it down better, honestly. But either way, I end up having to work around that, and I spend a lot of time down here trying to get all this really like cut out well. And I guess like while I'm doing this would be a good time just to kind of say like the tools I used if you are kind of trying to get your own piece like this. I just use a jigsaw. Obviously I use spray adhesive like I said. I got some decent, like 2 prints I got done really cheap on bad paper, and then I got 2 prints that were done on good paper. So those 2 bad ones, like the print I'm using now that's on this isn't the final one because the jigsaw is going to roughen up the edges of the print, and so I end up ripping this off and then gluing another one on of that good paper. And that's also why I didn't put a ton of spray adhesive, because I didn't want it to like, I don't know, I wanted it to come off pretty easy also, like this bad print. And as you can see, my little brother ends up supervising for a little bit, and I end up making him hold everything down while I end up cutting around it, and I have to bribe him with the print of the Chance piece to do it, but it was worth it. He helped a lot. But yeah, I also use like a router. I wasn't super in the know of how to use a router, but I just had a friend that semi knew what he was doing, so I just asked him, and he kind of told me what to do. I end up using a drill, some screws obviously to attach the 2 pieces of wood together, and I think that's about it. There's some knickknacks like clamps, also the sawhorses, stuff like that, but there's really not a lot to it. I would also recommend taking some sandpaper just lightly around the edges when you're done. Even if you do want kind of a rougher wood look, you don't want like pieces coming off or anything. I didn't record that. There's a couple things I didn't record, which honestly, it was just by mistake because this is the first time doing it, and I would just like walk in the garage and do something and be like, shit, off the camera back there. And yeah, but the only other really thing that I didn't record that is of substance is I didn't record me kind of painting around the inner edges of the piece, which by that I kind of mean like I used the router to knock back maybe a 1/4 inch or 3/4 of an inch, maybe even an inch at the bottom, I don't know, of the plywood, about one layer deep. So I know it sounds convoluted, but it's so pretty much it looks like one layer is just kind of floating, and then the rest of it is kind of angled at like a curvature kind of down. So it looks like it's really just one little piece of wood floating kind of on the piece. You'll see at the end. But I painted that inside like layer, the very inside layers black, so it looks like, you know, they kind of blend in with the shadows or whatever. And that's just, I just took the cheapest paint I had, cheap brush, and I just like went around the edges, and then if I messed up, I just, well, whatever. Like, it's supposed to look kind of, you know, shadowy and whatever back there, so it's not that big a deal. So as you can see now, I'm kind of getting the router out. I'm going around the edges. This takes also a pretty good amount of time because I didn't know what I was doing again, and I just kind of like couldn't get it to tighten real well. I don't know. I still don't exactly know how. Eventually it just like never came out, like the end or whatever. I don't know how I got it tight, but it just happened. And so yeah, I'm about to glue the like background print down on the, you know, background piece. And this, I kind of did edit the art, separate out the art a little bit. I did take him off the background, which kind of ended up messing things up a little bit because you can see one of the little seams in one of the gradients that I don't like, but no one's ever going to notice that but me. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I just need to like pay more attention when I'm doing like exporting art where I think things are hidden, but then they're not hidden, obviously. So yeah, this I just used Elmer's spray adhesive. I got it from the hardware store. That's probably not the best thing to use, but the paper was so thick and everything. Like I said, I got it printed on some decent paper. I think each like print of the good paper was like $30, so I like spent a decent amount on that because I knew that, you know, once it's on that piece of wood, it really needs to last. So I kind of like, yeah. So yeah, as you're seeing, I'm also attaching, I like loosely cut it out, the head once again, and then I end up just setting it on, you know, the piece of wood that I cut out. This is the good paper once again. And then I end up going back in the house and kind of cutting out the finer details, as you'll see, of the edges of this. And also I did leave out like a little bit of me kind of finagling with the edges and kind of like, I ended up shaving off parts of stuff. I don't know. I didn't align this correctly, and so it was just a little bit off. So I had to kind of compensate and make things look, some of the lines look a little stylized around the edges to kind of just cover up the fact that it's not necessarily lined up perfectly. But there was no real reason for me to show that because it was really just me sitting there with an X-Acto knife around the edges for like 30 minutes, and you can't see any change. And yeah, so that just was a lot of kind of pointless time that you don't really notice until you zoom in. But as you can see, I'm really kind of taking my time on the details of cutting out these edges. I spend a long time just in all the creases, like really making sure everything's like cut like at the right angle or whatever, if it's supposed to be a right angle, or like smoothing out those like edges. I don't know. I feel like the only way I do something like this and it comes out super corny is it looks like if I just like slapped, you know, a print on top of a piece of wood and cut it out shit. Like, if the craftsmanship's there, I think it's like always going to be a cool concept. But if like you do lack on the craftsmanship, I think it can kind of easily look, you know, like arts and craftsy. But yeah, there you have it. That was like the finished cutout head pretty much. There's just like I said, I shaved off like a little bit of the edges here with the jigsaw. I end up going back with the X-Acto knife, kind of like, even once it's on the actual canvas and everything, or on the board. So right now, I end up having kind of a hard time figuring out where I want it to be. You'll see I change it multiple times. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I painted it after, kind of touched up the edges, but that's pretty much the piece. Right now, the piece is up for sale on my website. I don't necessarily, know how long it's going to be there or anything, but yeah, the piece is pretty much done. I just attached this piece, and that's it. Thank you very much for checking out the video. I really had so much fun making this. Like, the amount of things that this inspired is crazy. Like, I'm going to make so much stuff very similar to this. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks.